The Nintendo Switch has been defying sales expectations for a lot of people, myself included. I figured after the failures of the Wii U, Nintendo would have a hard time roping people back into that Nintendo umbrella, but the Nintendo Switch has done it. Releasing in March of 2017, the system has been on an absolute roll. It's already outsold the Nintendo Wii U. It's pretty damn close to outselling the GameCube. And with the latest July NPD rumors going around, the Nintendo Switch was the top-selling system in the United States for the month of July, and Octopath Traveler, a third-party Nintendo Switch exclusive classic style RPG game, was the #1 selling game overall. So evidently the Nintendo Switch is hitting a good market when it comes to the world of video games. But you have to figure in the fact that, video game refreshes as far as consoles go are becoming pretty commonplace. So Nintendo probably has that in the back of their mind, and they're probably working on something. Of course, you had the PS4 to the PS4 Pro, the Xbox One to the Xbox One S to the Xbox One X. Even Nintendo has done it with handhelds, with things like the 3DS and the new 3DS. But recently a rumor has popped up online about a new 4K Nintendo Switch coming in early 2019, and a lot of major websites are running with this. A lot of people are talking about it, and I'm just sitting there like, why are we talking about this? Like, this is just so outlandish to me, and it makes literally no sense. But when you have to look at the whole grand scheme of things, I could kind of see why maybe people are talking about this. I honestly wasn't even going to make a video on this, but honestly, SummerSlam has just been boring the hell out of me. I took to Twitter and saw if you guys wanted me to talk about this, and you did. So here we are. Today we're going to talk about the supposed 2019 Nintendo Switch 4K system that's coming, and honestly why I think it's a bunch of bullshit. So sit back, relax, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and let's dive into this topic.
Hey, RGT 85. Hey, Sean.
Oh my God, it's Stevie Richards!
Alright, so this is stemming from a Twitter person named Marcus Sellers. Now, if you're not familiar with who Marcus is a self-proclaimed video game insider who gets lots of information from people supposedly, and he reports on it on his Twitter. Now, the one thing I've always noticed about Marcus is whenever he reports on something, he always kind of reports on it as a fact, as like, this is 100% true. He never says the words rumor or speculation or things like that. It's always just, this is what it is. And Marcus's track record is a bit spotty at best. But this tweet really caught a lot of people's attention, and for some reason, everyone is pretty much running with this, and I'm just sitting here thinking why, because it doesn't make sense. But let's look at the original tweet and see if we can find some flaws in it. Nintendo will be releasing an improved version of the Nintendo Switch early 2019. This console will have 8 GB of RAM, 128 GB of internal storage, and dynamic scaling up to 4K. Some third-party games will only release on this version. All Nintendo-produced games will release on both. Is that not the most batshit crazy thing you've ever heard? Maybe if you said early 2020, I would sort of believe you on this. I would maybe say, okay, well, that's a possibility. But early 2019, we are nearing the end of 2018, and there's been no word about this Nintendo Switch. But let's look at the actual specs of this thing, shall we? So it's going to have 8 gigs of RAM, and that would be double what the Nintendo Switch has right now, because the Nintendo Switch has 4 gigs of RAM. So you're gonna double the RAM and somehow make this affordable still? Okay. 128 gigs of internal storage. Once again, the Nintendo Switch currently has 32 gigs of internal storage. Now, storage isn't a big deal. You could buy SD cards and they're pretty cheap, but once again, things like this will drive up the price. 4 times the storage and double the RAM on the system, and I'm supposed to believe that this is going to be affordable, and dynamic scaling up to 4K, with some third-party games only releasing on this version. Okay, and that's where you absolutely lose me, because this would be absolute suicide for Nintendo to do. So let's say early 2019. What's an early month in 2019? Let's say March. So 2 years after the launch of the Nintendo Switch original version, you're going to launch a more powerful version that will undoubtedly be more expensive than the current model on the market, that will also segment the third-party market when it comes to your games. And the thing of it is, I don't really feel that the Nintendo Switch needs that. Could the Nintendo Switch be more powerful? Of course it could. Everything could be more powerful. But with that would come more money. And when you have games like Doom Eternal, Wolfenstein 2, NBA 2K series, games that are on the PS4 and the Xbox One only coming to the Nintendo Switch, and they're pretty decent versions of this game, I don't really think segmenting that market and making people, 20 million plus, and let's be honest, it's probably going to be closer to the 30 million plus by the time early 2019 rolls around, with games like Pokemon Let's Go and Super Smash Brothers coming out. You're going to really segment your audience to hypothetically get double the power and upscale to 4K? Most 4K televisions that are on the market already upscale the image, so that really seems like a moot point to me. But I think the main thing to take away from this is the timing of this. 2 years. Now you have to look at the Nintendo 3DS, because I know what you're saying. Well, RGT 85, Nintendo did something like this with the 3DS and the new 3DS, and you would be correct. However, you have to look at the timing of this. The new Nintendo, or the original Nintendo 3DS, released in March of 2011. The new Nintendo 3DS released in February of 2015. So nearly a 4-year gap. And then you might say, well, there are games that only work on the new Nintendo 3DS, and some games are enhanced by that. And once again, you would be absolutely correct. But when you look at the amount of games that came out for the new 3DS that were new 3DS exclusive, that's pretty damn small. You got Xenoblade Chronicles, Binding of Isaac Rebirth, Fire Emblem Warriors, which also released on the Nintendo Switch, Minecraft New 3DS Edition, and really the Super Nintendo Virtual Console. Other than that, there were some smaller indie games that released, but really you only had 4 major games in over 3 years that utilized the new Nintendo 3DS specifically. Now, why do you think that is? Why do you think that there was only a handful of exclusive games for the new 3DS that were exclusive to the new 3DS? Because companies don't want to segment the market. They don't want to do things like that. There's a reason why all Xbox One games that work on the Xbox One X work on the original Xbox. There's a reason why all PS4 games or PS4 games work on the PS4 and the PS4 Pro, because companies don't want to segment the market on this. Revisions are a good thing. I'm totally on board with revisions because it gives you more options. It gives you different things to utilize with your hardware. But the problem is when you start segmenting your market, companies are not going to want to do that. If you're going to leave 30 million Nintendo Switches on the market by early 2019 and just leave them in the dust to get, a 5 to 6 million whoever installed this new powerful Nintendo Switch system that is going to cost more than the original Nintendo Switch, it would just be absolute suicide for your company. But let's look at the 4K thing, because that's something that really stuck out to me. When the hell did Nintendo become interested in 4K? Because the last word we got from them, they didn't really care for it, coming from Reggie Fils-Aimé himself. As for 4K, should we invest in technology that is not widely adapted? Where are the 4K screens today? Should we invest before the consumer has adopted the technology? We cannot invest everywhere, and what will be new compared to our competitors? If we do the same things as others, we are doomed to die because we are smaller than them. With the Switch, we have the merit of proposing different uses adapted to the rhythm of users' lives. The interest is to be able to return to your daily life. The use of video games becomes less exceptional. So obviously this was an interview with Reggie from July of 2017, so like a year ago. Do you really think the landscape of 4K has really changed that much to where Nintendo would do a complete 180 and release a system in early 2019 that will cost more than the Nintendo Switch that's on the market and just forego all that? I don't think so. That would be absolutely stupid in my opinion, because honestly, to me, the route that Nintendo needs to go in is a Switch Mini. The next Nintendo Switch revision, whenever it may come out in 2020 or beyond, needs to be something cheaper in my opinion. It needs to be something that more people can purchase. It needs to be something that if you want to buy an extra Switch unit, you can do that, because I think the portability of the Nintendo Switch is one of the most attractive features. And by lowering the price, maybe making like a Switch Mini that doesn't have detachable Joy-Cons, that uses a lighter plastic, a slightly smaller screen, that's, $150 less or $100 less than the current Nintendo Switch on the market, you're bringing in a whole bunch of new gamers. You're starting to get impulse buys. $300 is still a lot of money for people. Also, let's look at the fact that releasing this system would be a release of a system from Nintendo. There would be God, I can't even say it. It's so stupid. So there would be 2 different Nintendo Switch systems on the market in the time that the PS4 and the Xbox One are on the market. So they would be jumping in front of Sony and Microsoft with this new powerful system that will have exclusive third-party games on it, and we don't even know anything about the PS5 or the Project Scarlet besides some rumors that we've heard. And of course, none of these systems are probably coming out in 2019. If one comes out, maybe Project Scarlet. I could see Project Scarlet being a holiday 2019 release. There's no way in hell the PS5 is coming out next year. It just doesn't make sense. Sony themselves have said they have at least 2 to 3 years left on the PlayStation 4. I really don't foresee any sort of new hardware coming out next year, but if anyone does it, it would be Microsoft, not Nintendo. In closing, I just want to talk about Marcus Sellers as a insider and an individual posting news on Twitter. I don't like that he doesn't say things like rumor or something I've heard. He always just sort of projects this stuff as fact. And sometimes, honestly, it just makes him look a bit dumb. Because back in February, he stated that Black Ops 4 was coming to the Nintendo Switch. And a lot of people were like, oh, really? And he was like, yep, it's coming to the Nintendo Switch. It'll have HD Rumble. It'll have all the DLC. Yep, it's coming. And here we are with Black Ops 4 right around the corner and no Nintendo Switch version. Now, did I think that there would be a Nintendo Switch version of Black Ops 4 back when it was first unveiled that was going to be the next game? Of course I did. I think a lot of people did. It would have made sense for Activision to put this game on a system that doesn't have a lot of first-person shooters, but I never said it was fact, and that's something I always try to avoid, especially when it comes to rumors, because that's what they are, rumors. Sometimes they come true. Sometimes things like Diablo 3, this new Super Mario Bros. U collection for the Nintendo Switch that we've been hearing about. I fully expect that to become a thing, and sometimes they're not true. That's just the way rumors go. But when you pretty much go out there and state it as a fact and then get all mad when people try to call you out on it, I think it just looks silly. Plus, this initial tweet has actually been taken down. For undisclosed reasons, have decided to take down the previous tweet and all other tweets regarding the topic. Why? Because people are calling you out on it? Because people disagree with you? That's the thing about this. You have to be able to accept some backlash. Sometimes I say things on the channel that a lot of people don't agree with. Sometimes they agree with it, sometimes they don't. It's just my opinion though. It's just my speculation based on things I hear. But when you pretty much go out there and state something as a fact and then get all these people reporting on your rumor, you know, all these websites and all these people buying into it, there's gonna be some backlash, especially from people who are a bit more skeptical about this. This in no way would make sense for Nintendo to do. It's completely unfeasible, and I just think it's ridiculous. Could I be wrong? Sure. I'm not saying that it's a fact that this does not exist, but I'm 99% sure that it doesn't. Don't believe everything you read on the internet, kids. Sometimes it's just not true. And I have no personal problems with Marcus Sellers. Like I said, he's been right about some things, but on this situation, I have to take objection to it because I just think it's absolutely ludicrous. So let me know in the comments section down below what you think of this Nintendo Switch 4K thing. Are you one of the believers in it? Do you think that in early 2019, Nintendo's going to release a brand new Nintendo Switch that's going to cost more than the Nintendo Switch on the marketplace and then segment the third-party audience? It makes no sense, damn it. It makes no sense. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.